Hi, it's Alison from Blue Cat Sewing, and today I'm going to show you how to make one of these. It's a vertical pocket ID holder. Your ID card goes in the front, and there's a pocket at the back where you can pop an extra card. You can download the pattern from my Etsy store. I'll pop a link just here. It looks like this. You get all the written instructions, all the pattern pieces, but here's the tutorial to take you through it. First, take one of the 3 rectangles and attach some interfacing to the wrong side. Then take your template and just put a little dot in each corner with a pencil, and then join these dots up with a ruler. I find this the easiest way, so I know where I'm cutting. Then fold it in half, cut into the middle, and then cut into each corner. Then trim away so that you've got a little seam allowance around the edge. Fold that seam allowance under and press, being quite careful not to touch the interfacing. Just use the tip of your iron. And then take your PVC window, place that behind and pin on all 4 sides. Be really careful to make sure that you pin into the fabric first and then through into the PVC. You do not want to get a pin right in the centre into the plastic window. And then sew all the way around, being quite slow when you go over the pins. They're at right angles, so that means that you can sew over them, but just go quite slowly. And do a reverse stitch at the beginning and at the end to secure it. Then you need to decide which is the right way up. You need to zigzag along the top edge. With my fabric, it doesn't really matter, but you may have a one-way fabric and you don't want it upside down. So this is the top edge. Zigzag along the top to neaten. And then we're going to trim away some of the PVC. So you've got about 1 centimetre left. Then turn over that zigzagged edge. Get it as straight as you can. Just check you've got a nice straight edge, and then stitch along there to hold it down. Make sure you've changed back to a straight stitch. Okay, so that's done. So now I'm going to use my ruler and just measure 1.2 centimetres there, which is ½ an inch. You see here I actually make a mistake and I do a bit less. So when I join those up, I get a little bit confused. What I normally do, if you can see on my ruler, is rather than measuring out each time like I'm showing you here, I use the bottom of my numbers. There you can see the bottom of all those numbers there, and I line them up with the edge of the window, and I know that that is about 1.2, so that's what I do. Then take your small rectangle, this is your loop, and press each edge into the centre, and then fold it in half again. So you've got one long strip. Sew along that edge, and then we're going to cut it down to 6 centimetres, about 2¼ inches. Then take another of the rectangles and fuse some interfacing to it. So you've got one without interfacing and one with. The one with interfacing, fold it in half, just so that you know where the centre is. Take your loop and pin it so that you've got half of it on one side of the centre, and then flip it up so that both raw edges meet the raw edges of the rectangle, and pin that in place. Then take the piece without the interfacing, put that on top. Remember, this is the top of your ID holder, so make sure if you've got a one-way fabric that you're using the top. Stitch those together, being really careful and slow when you're going over the pins. You can see I'm just smoothing it out there because I think a little tuck was forming. Reverse stitch at the end and at the beginning. And then flip that over and press. And then your loop will pop up. Just press along the edge of that seam. And now we're on to the pocket. So this is your big rectangle, the long one. Fold it in half so that you know where the centre is, and just press. Take the smaller piece of interfacing that you've got left, place that at the top of the fold, and then press again to fuse it in place. Place the pocket on top of the piece with the loop, and I have the interfaced bit on the front, and then place your window piece on top, face down. Make sure the tops are all level, and then pin all the way around at right angles again. Then change your stitch length to 3, and if possible use a Teflon foot. My normal zigzag foot just pops out with a little button at the back, and you put the new one on top. Make sure that you reverse stitch again, and then stitch all the way around on that line that you've drawn. It can stick a little bit, so you might need to just hold it at the back and just guide it through, give it a little pull. I find it sticks, especially in hot weather, but the Teflon foot really does help. I have heard that you can use masking tape to put over your stitch line and then stitch on the masking tape and peel it away, but I've not really tried that. Again, reverse stitch at the end. Just check everything's sewn in properly, and then trim the PVC away first. Use your small sharp scissors and lay them quite flat so that you're not going to trim away anything that you shouldn't. I just try and get away as much as I can of the bulk, so this all helps. So once that's done, take your big scissors and trim the corners away, and then trim down all these raw edges. Then this is going to be a fiddly bit. I've not zoomed this up at all so that you can see how long it takes me. It is a bit of a fiddle. So make sure when you're turning it through that you're not turning it into the pocket. Turn it through so that you've got the window, and get your fingers right in. So the window's on one side and the pocket and the other piece on the other side. And just keep trying. It's a bit of a fiddle, pulling and pushing to try and get it all the right way through. Then I've got these lovely scissors, which I only use for this purpose. They're blunt at the ends. I don't use them for cutting anything because they're just really blunt, but they're strong. And I get those right into the corners with a bit of force, but not too much force. I have gone all the way through once. I've only done it once. You don't want to get a hole right in your lovely ID hold that you've nearly finished. So it's just about having the right amount of pressure to get a nice corner. And then open up your scissors. Be careful not to cut yourself or cut anything that you shouldn't. But it does need a little bit of force. You may find something else that you can use, like a chopstick or something. And then just getting away a little bit of the excess thread. Then we're going to press on the wrong side. We don't want to melt the plastic because we want to get a nice edge all around to sew it in place. Now you'll see here there's a little bit of condensation. It feels a little bit damp, and that's just because of the heat of the iron. So wait for it to disperse and for the plastic to be nice and smooth again. And then we're going to stitch around those 3 edges. So again, reversing. And then I use my sewing foot as a guide to go all the way around the edge. It's about 1/4 of an inch, about 7 millimeters. And reversing at the beginning and the end. And that's it, we're done. So trim all threads. There's your pocket to put your card in. So a card will go in the front and another card will go in the back. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to give me a like, and I'll see you on the next one. Happy sewing!